And welcome back to Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concho, along with my co-host Rick Unker, Heather Hansen, and Bill Tucker. So imagine for a moment getting the sad news from the place where dreams really do come true, that you're fired. But it gets worse. All told, 250 tech employees at Walt Disney World in Florida, that's in Orlando, were told that they were being laid off last October. But here's the punchline. They were then told they're going to have to train their replacements. And just who are those replacements? The New York Times now reporting they were immigrants brought in from India on temporary visas for highly skilled technical workers. One former Disney worker tells the Times, and we quote, "I just couldn't believe they could fly people in to sit at our desks and take our jobs over exactly. It was so humiliating to train somebody else to take over your job. I still can't grasp it," unquote. Disney says the layoffs were part of a reorganization and that the company opened more positions than the ones it eliminated. But the move is raising questions about these temporary visas for skilled foreign workers, as they're not supposed to displace current American workers. But critics say this program is being used to replace American labor with cheaper foreign resources. So, Bill Tucker, is this the exception rather than the rule?
No, this is the rule. Unfortunately, it's been the rule for a very long time, and I did extensive reporting on this over the years as a reporter. And in fact, I went back this afternoon and looked.
To Orlando? Wow.
I went to Orlando. It was really nice. No, I looked up the testimony of a woman named Pat Foulon. She worked for Simmons. In July of 2003, Pat testified that she, Mike Emmons, and a number of other tech workers at Simmons lost their jobs and had to train their replacements, and they told the Senate Judiciary Committee this, and the Senate Judiciary Committee sat there with great indignation and great outrage and did absolutely nothing, and it's still going on. Earlier this year, Southern California, they laid off their tech workers out there, replaced those. The way they do it is they reorg it and say, we're eliminating the tech department, we're bringing in this company who's going to handle our tech situation for it. They do it because the wages are cheaper.
Right. Heather, I'm a bit unique in that, and my wife and I should say, we've gone to Disney World down in Florida 3 times before we had kids.
Oh yeah, you're a Disney lover.
Well, yeah, seriously, it's the cleanest place on earth. Of course. Well, now I have to go.
After this?
Yeah, now I. Oh, well, that's what I was about to bring up. We spent a fortune. Like more than when we went overseas. Yeah. It's the most expensive place on earth as well because they know they got you. It's like Yankee Stadium, you're going to pay $10 for the hot dog. You have no choice. Once you go within those gates, it's over. Now, all of that said, they make a lot of money. I don't think they need to necessarily go to India for cheaper resources.
Well, that's correct, and I think that Bill's point is well said, that this has been going on for a long time, and now to have it in the public light in such an unusual way, to have it be Disney World. But I think that the answer to it may be to boycott, which would mean that you can't go to Disney World anymore. We can't use Fossil watches. Fossil did the same thing. Edison, South California, I don't know how much you can boycott your electric company.
That is so beyond unfair, though, because once my daughter and future son can talk, I'm not going to have any choice. I want to be able to boycott. They're going to make me go regardless.
But, I mean, if Congress isn't going to act, and it seems as though they have been reluctant to do so, although it may well be with this type of publicity they will change, but there has to be some sort of punishment for this type of thing because we've got people who need jobs. There's people who need jobs.
You have no idea how much I'm enjoying this.
You do have a very
you both identify as conservatives, free marketers. It's cheaper.
Well,
they're saving money, and all of us. When I talk this way, like you guys. By the way, of course, I agree with you both. But when I talk that way, they call me a communist. Listen to you two. Isn't this a company exercising its right to make more money?
It's not true. They call you a socialist.
I will tell you, for years covering this issue, I met with tremendous resistance, and it is really amazing how bipartisan the issue is. As a matter of fact, it's actually very interesting. Yeah, there are a lot of conservatives
that Republican-controlled Congress is deeply upset about this.
And Democratic-controlled Congress was as deeply as upset as well.
They're not there.
They didn't care. They were there. You know what? They were there.
I'm just going to say that I hope that your conservative compatriots out there share your feelings.
I think a boycott is the free market. Isn't the boycott the free market working the way that it should?
The free market way is to argue that a company should be able to make as much money as they want, and if they replace people, that's business, man.
And if the consumer doesn't like that company, and if the consumer doesn't like what that company's doing, they stop going to that company.
But it's good for the shareholder.
It's good for Bob Iger because he got like a $46 million bonus. Isn't that what it was? No, it's good for him.
It's not good for the shareholders?
I don't know that. Well, Disney stock has done very well.
It's not good for the shareholders to make more money?
you know what, Rick?
Perception
Walking
can hurt
into
the
that
company.
little
They will stop
sneaky
making
trap.
more money if
No,
people
it's
don't
like
wanna
no.
go.
There is a morality attached to money. Rick.
I couldn't agree
I got
more.
a newsflash for you.
You're
There is a
preaching.
morality.
You're preaching to the choir, man. I couldn't agree more. It's just not what I normally hear.
Okay, well, speaking of immigration, 2016 Democratic hopeful Martin O'Malley is trying to outmaneuver Hillary Clinton. He says if elected president, he'd tackle immigration reform in his first 100 days.
I would use my executive authority to be guided by the truth that we should keep families together and not break families up. And I would continue to push for immigration reform through Congress until we get it done.
Now, O'Malley made his remarks earlier this week before the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. The former Maryland governor is touting his 15 years of executive experience as proof he could get things done. Will this help him when he takes on Hillary Clinton, Bill Unger?
Bill Unger.
Rick Unger.
Oh boy. Rick, we've
Friday.
merged our personalities here.
That is not going to happen.
Yeah,
That is not gonna
yeah.
happen.
Nothing
Or
is
coffee.
going to help Mr. O'Malley when he takes on Hillary Clinton.
You know, I think that's a shame, though. He hasn't flip-flopped on the issue. He's consistently been very pro-immigration.
Yeah, he
he
has.
had in-state tuition for immigrants in his state, whereas she has not been consistent on her views, and it
agree.
really is a shame because
I
he's
agree with
consistent in most of the things
But
that
it's
she's
still not
opened.
going to help him. But
Yeah,
you're
well,
right.
I don't know. He did such a fine job managing Baltimore that it might that
Well,
might
it's
overcome
really
everything
unfair.
else. The problem I have with the immigration story is just very simple, and Rick and I talked about this once before. We have to know what our policy is, and we seem unwilling to just say, okay, this is what we want to achieve with our immigration policy, and then we move and act from there.
We can agree.
Well, Rick Tucker, that was excellent. Thank you so much. Rick's only been doing the show with me for 4 months and everything. So, coming up, Hillary Clinton calls out 4 GOP governors for what she says is launching a crusade against voting rights. Who did she name? We'll tell you next. You're not allowed to go anywhere.